that make you guys nervous at all? That maybe they may encounter even more issues like that?
Yeah, what's interesting is I dealt with them a lot last fall when they were talking about announcing it at VGAs, and they were very adamant from the get-go that they wanted to announce a date, they wanted to stick to it. And I talked to Todd a lot last week at their event in Park City, and I mean they feel very confident that they're going to make the date.
Well, we know
November.
they'll make the date.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean Todd. I mean I don't think him and his team. They're not kind of guys who are going to cut corners. I think. I mean the legacy of those games.
I also think. I mean, I think
the legacy of those games says that they do cut corners, though.
Well,
When you're that ambitious and the world's that big and there's so much going on, it's bound to happen.
Yeah, it's like anything that big. Yeah.
And the Gamebryo engine wasn't exactly, that was creaking and during Fallout 3 and then was collapsing by the time New Vegas came around. So I think a lot of the problems they had were with the Gamebryo engine.
I mean, you say that you can't blame them. Who do you blame? You have to blame the developer.
I mean, to Elder Scrolls' credit, it's hard to think of any other game around that time that kind of did the same thing. So, I mean, it was.
What about
buggy,
New
no doubt.
Vegas? I mean, what's the excuse for New Vegas?
Obsidian Entertainment.
Yeah, but it's still got their name on it.
Well, that's just.
Yeah, that was. That was a weird one, right? To have Fallout not being done by Bethesda Game Studios, and yeah, I think this is return to form for Todd and his team. They've been working on this, since Fallout 3, and Fallout 3 is a great game. I think there's a lot there, and you're right. I'm sure they will have things that they have to cut and features, that won't make it. Although I think they're being pretty careful about what they're promising with this one.
They're saving all that for DLC.
Yeah, here's the $1 million question though. Will there be horse armor?
Oh, they talked about that, didn't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people asked about, will there be horseback riding and this and that. And I think Todd, when I interviewed him for GTTV, I think he said he wouldn't confirm it, but he definitely sort of suggested that it'll be there if it works correctly. So.
And getting back to the combat real fast, I just wanted to mention during the demo he did not do a lot of up close and personal one-on-one attacks. He tended to use a lot of projectile weapons. He favored the bow and arrow a lot, and he had 2 perks attached to his bow. One slowed down time, which I thought was kind of cool, and then the other 2 was iron sights with the bow. So he's a little cheap, he'd go after these guys, and then they'd be running very slowly. And he'd get those headshots off. So, yeah, and then getting back to the spells, he used a lot of spells, too.
So let me throw another question at you. You mentioned earlier accessibility. Now, we just came off Dragon Age 2, where they probably took it to the nth degree of trying to make it accessible and really dumbed it down and got a lot of people, RPGers, myself included, quite kind of pissed at it. Do you think they're not going that far? So when you say it's accessible, it's still going to appeal to the hardcore RPGers?
Yeah, and I think it's also, there's accessibility of the gameplay, but also just of the concept. And, I think, this, even that VGA announcement trailer, I mean, it didn't say a lot, but I think people just got excited by the lore. So I think that the lore